Hello everyone, my name is Michael SK and welcome back to Fate Stay Night Remastered. In the last episode we got the ball rolling. We jumped right into the prologue and I have no idea what's going on. And for those of you who didn't stick around to the very end of the last episode, this is my first time with anything like this, with Fate, with Type Moon, with any of this. So I'm going in very blind. But a few of you in the comments have said that this is actually a really good entry point into the series, which I will blindly accept and ask no further questions. Let us continue. When I arrive back at the house, I am greeted with the pulsing light of my answering machine. Remember those? I have a feeling I know what he's going to say, but I'd better listen, or I won't hear the end of it later. I press the play button and hear a familiar male voice. Oh boy. The priest cuts straight to the point. We really have transitioned over to the life of magic here, now that we are done with the life of school for the day. Liar, I bet you could find a backup right away. The voicemail ends. It was a clear message in simple language. If you're going to fight, then be ready by today. If you aren't, then retire because you're in the way. It's only to be expected, I guess. Today's the last day I can drag this out. Thankfully, I managed to decipher Father's notes yesterday. My battle preparations are in order. All that's left is to seize the right to participate, as he said. Oh boy. By the way, I made some slight adjustments to the audio. The music I did not touch. I probably should have, just maybe a tad if I was going to adjust everything else, but voice volumes are slightly lower. Just a teeny tiny bit, just to help with whenever I decide to talk over other people. The mages who take part in the Holy Grail War, are called masters. It doesn't denote a rank of any kind, it merely describes their role. There's a condition to participate in the Holy Grail War. I don't know why I'm stumbling over that one, but you must summon a familiar called a servant and form a contract with them. Regardless of your skills as a mage, you are not recognized as a master unless you command a servant. There's a clear difference between servants and normal familiars. The way you summon and use them are different. Mages who plan to fight in the Holy Grail War prepare summoning catalysts, but... Ayo? I don't own any relics with a connection to a servant. I can summon one, yes. In fact, I could do it right now if I wanted to, as well as form a contract. This town's ley lines are under the jurisdiction of the Tosaka. I'm the heir to a clan that's administered the land, that has administered the land for generations. There we go, so my performance will not take a backseat to some visiting mage. Although, while that is true, it would be awfully incompetent of me to embark on a figurative voyage without a compass. In other words, I would need some outrageously valuable item like a sword or a piece of armor that servant had owned, or maybe a bone or heraldry related to them. The pendant that I had discovered in the basement last night is an ancient artifact of the highest quality. It's amazing all on its own. Still, it won't help me summon a servant.
いいわよ、そんなものに頼らなくたってなんとかなるわ。そもそも私以外にセーバーを扱えるマスターなんているはずないし。
Uh-huh. Definitely. Totally, 100%. Alright, I've made up my mind. I'd rather not get another earful, and waiting until the last minute doesn't sit right with me. Now the real challenge begins. Tonight I'm going to summon a servant while I'm in peak condition, and acquire Saber by force. Oh boy. Hell kind of transition was that? I'm not against it, it's just, that was a little weird. Late night. The clock reads almost 2 a.m. This is the period where everything lines up. My condition peaks at 2 a.m. sharp. In terms of limits, this will be my first and last chance, so I can't afford even the slightest mistake.
消去の中に大挙。大挙の陣を4つ刻んで、召喚の陣で囲むと。
Oh boy, we're getting into the wacky stuff. I inscribe magic circles into the floor of the basement. Actually, it doesn't take a major evocation to call forth the servant. Servants are invited by the Holy Grail. Masters anchor them to the world and supply the magical energy to materialize them, but the servants are the ones who choose to respond to the summons. This is how gacha games work. This is pretty cool, whatever's happening here.
銀と鉄。礎に石と契約の太鼓。楚には我が大使、シュバインオーグ。降り立つ風には壁を。四方の門は閉じ、王冠より出。王国に至る三サロは循環せよ。
Still, I need to keep cautious and focus. Magic circles are normally drawn with blood, but tonight I draw mine with melted jewels. I'm using up half of the jewels that I've accumulated over my lifetime, so I'll never financially recover from this if it fails. I know I wouldn't.
満たせ、満たせ、満たせ、満たせ、満たせ。繰り返し都度に5度。ただ、満たされる時を破却する。
Instructions not clear. My house is now on fire. It's almost 2 a.m. I finish drawing the summoning circle, pass down through the Tosaka line, and face it with all of my being. I flick a formless switch within myself. With a click, I feel my insides turn over to something else. My normal nerves invert and become circuits for conducting magical energy. Rin Tosaka is no longer human. She's just a component in the execution of mystics. I melt from my fingers. No, I'm filled up from my fingers. The mana that I'm taking in is so dense, it overwrites my bodily sensations. That's why I'm being destroyed at the same time I'm being filled. Running through my body is the power, mana, from the atmosphere. I convert it into a different type of energy through my body's circuits. A mage's body is nothing but circuits. Circuits to connect the eternal to the material. The mystical outcome we produce is what we call magecraft. My body grows hot. It seems like horns are growing from my forehead. It seems like wings are sprouting from my back. It seems like scales are covering my hands. It feels like there's water pooling around my ankles. It's like a plane flying by right while I'm reading all this. This coincidental timing, but sweat drips. Stab, swords pierce my body. These are the stigmata that reject my body, which becomes a circuit. No matter how gifted a mage is, we're only human. In a human body, the pain is something that we must live with whenever we use magecraft. The cycle doesn't let up. Beyond the agony, deep within the trance, lies the mental state necessary for connection. Pain wriggles in my left arm. To aid the caster, the magic crest begins an incantation, invading my nervous system. The mana in the atmosphere I've taken in turns to blood. It's like molten lead. while my activated magic crest resembles thorny nerves. With a crunching sensation, it creeps throughout my body like a thorny centipede. Within the hurt, I forget myself. At the same time, I can feel it taking hold of me, like I've reached where I needed to go. My hypersensitive hearing picks up the ticking clock in the parlor. 10 seconds left until 2 a.m. The power filling my body is unquestionably complete. Time to begin. I convert the mana that I've collected into magical energy for fixation. All that's left is to feed all that energy into the engine, the summoning circle, until my body runs dry.
告げる。汝の身は我がもとに。我が命運は汝の剣に。聖杯の夜べに従い、この断りに従うならば答えよ。
Oh boy, here we go. My vision goes dark. What lies before me now is the fifth factor, said to be the imperceptible to the naked eye. My vision shuts off on its own, fearing what it might see.
誓いよここに。我は常世すべての善となるもの。我は常世すべての悪を敷くもの。汝三代の言霊をまとう七天。抑止の輪より来たれ。天秤の守り手よ。
This is some pretty exciting stuff, actually. That went off without a hitch. It feels so perfect, it's like I'm reeling in a whale with a fishing rod. Flawless. I'm positive I just drew the strongest card. I can't wait for my vision to return. It'll take a few more seconds, but when it does, I'm sure the strongest servant will be nowhere in sight.
Hi?
Yeah, this really does remind me of the gacha days. Nothing is there. The room doesn't look different at all. I spun that much ether into this ritual only for absolutely nothing to materialize? On top of that, I think I just heard something explode in the parlor. I bolt. My head is empty at this point. I just run. I race up the stairs from the basement. The door to the parlor is askew off its hinges. There isn't any point in turning the doorknob, and since it won't open whether I push or pull, I kick it down and burst into the room. Alright, what do we got going on here? And the moment I enter the parlor, everything becomes clear. No, we summoned somebody. There's definitely somebody here now. Everything is in tatters. Rubble is strewn across everything, as if something has fallen through the ceiling. On top of it all sits a man cocking his head arrogantly. He must be some kind of criminal. But something graver draws my attention. The grandfather clock, having escaped destruction, tells the time precisely. Now I remember. Right, of course. The clocks were an hour ahead today, weren't they? Which means it's 1 a.m. Still a full hour left until I'm in peak spellcasting form. That is so unfortunate, but like, that is such a real human error. That is so human. I can complete tasks as well as anybody else, but suffer from the curse of my genetics. When it really counts, I somehow manage to bungle things on an unbelievable level. Yeah, that's a pretty good positive outlook on this. I can't believe my own stupidity. Still irritated, I direct my glare at the man lounging haughtily on the rubble. Yeah, ridiculous is a pretty good term to use here, I think. The man in the red mantle shakes his head in a show of exasperation. To add insult to injury, he mutters something about drawing the short straw. Oh, now I'm dead certain. This guy has a messed up personality. So do I. And is this a servant? I thought familiars were shapeless beings, but this is just a man. No, not just a man. Even from here I can tell that it's brimming with a shocking amount of magical energy. Don't be fooled by its appearance. I'm staring at something that's undoubtedly more than human. It's a human-shaped ghost that's on the level of an elemental. This is no time to be dumbstruck. That thing belongs to me. I need to get my head in the game.
確認するけど、あなたは私のサーバントで間違いない？
それはこちらが聞きたいな。君こそ私のマスターなのか？ここまで乱暴な召喚は初めてでね。正直状況がつかめない。
私だって初めてよ。そういう質問は却下するわ。
そうか。だが私が召喚された時に君は目の前にいなかった。これはどういうことなのか。
No, we were a little off target here, you know?
本気？
He was supposed to spawn right in front of us, but instead he's here. The unidentified servant frowns and a grunt escapes his lips. Maybe he didn't like the way I said it, though he has a mixed reaction, as if still impressed by the logic in my words.
まあいいわ。私が聞いているのはね、あなたが他の誰でもない、この私のサーバントかってことだけよ。それをはっきりさせない以上、他の質問に答える義務はないわ。
召喚に失敗しておいてそれか。この場合、他に色々と言うべきことがあると思うのだが。
そんなのないわよ。主従関係は一番初めにはっきりさせておくべきものだもの。
The servant's eyebrow twitches. He isn't even bothering to hide his dissatisfaction with me. I wonder if it's because of the half-baked summoning.
主従関係ははっきりさせておくか。やることは知ってんだらけだが、口だけは達者らしい。ああ、確かにその意見には賛成だ。どちらが強者で、どちらが弱者なのか、明確にしておかなければ、お互いやりづらかろう。
I've got an iffy feeling about all this. The servant eyes me meaningfully, excuse me, still relaxing on the rubble of my living room.
どちらが弱者かですって。
I was reading that wrong.
ああ、私もサーバントだ。呼ばれたからには主従関係を認めるさ。だが、それはあくまで契約上の話だろう。どちらがより優れたものか、共に戦うにふさわしい相手かを測るのは別になる。さて、その件でいくと、君は私のマスターにふさわしい魔術師なのかな？
The servant smirks. First he destroys my house and acts like he's king of the castle, and now he has the nerve to ask whether I'm worthy.
あなたの意見なんて聞いてないわ。私が聞いているのは、あなたが私のサーバントかどうかってことだけよ。
I repeat myself, stealing my gaze. I'm not going to back down from this condescending jerk.
ほう、なるほどなるほど。そんな当たり前のことは答えるまでもないと。実に勇ましい。いや、気概だけなら立派なマスターだが。
だから順番を間違えるなっていうの。一番初めに確認するのは召喚者の務めよ。さあ答えなさい。あなたは私のサーバントなのね。
She's asked this like 5 times now. I step forward aggressively, ready to pounce depending on his answer.
強情なお嬢さんだ。これ
That's
で
how
は
I
話
feel.
が進まんな。仕方あるまい。仮に私が君のサーバントだとしよう。で、その場合、君が私のマスターなのか？
当たり前じゃない。あなたが私に呼ばれたサーバントなら、あなたのマスターは私以外に誰がいるっていうのよ。
Unless this is all some crazy and very confusing misunderstanding. I glare at this rude man, giving my seething head a moment to cool down.
おう、そうか。まあ仮の話なんだが、とりあえずそうだとしよう。それで、君が私のマスターである証はどこにある？
The servant blithely asks, smirking all the while. He's clearly trying to goad me with these questions into losing my temper.
ここよ。 あなたのマスターである証ってこれでしょ？
The hell was that? I show him the command spells on my right hand. Huh, don't think I was born yesterday. Father has told me enough that I know what command spells are at least.
納得いった？これでもまだ文句を言うの？
I thrust the symbols at him in challenge, but the lounging servant rolls his eyes.
参ったな。本気で言っているのか、お嬢さん。
His face darkens, looking even more disgruntled.
本気かってなんでよ？
その考えがだ。霊樹があればマスターなのか？霊樹などサーバントを利する道具に過ぎないだろう。まったくそんな形だけのものでマスターブルとはな。私が見たかったのは君が忠誠を振るうにふさわしい人物かどうかだったのだが。
That makes sense, but normally you would think of command spells if someone asked for proof that you're a master, right?
何よ。それじゃあ私はマスター失格？
そう願いたいが、そうはいくまい。霊樹がある以上、私の召喚者は君のようだ。信じがたいが、君は本当に私のマスターらしいな。
He shrugs in mock exhaustion. Well, the house is still fucked. Uh-oh. I've reached my boiling point, and I'm not going to cool down in time.
全くもって不満だが、認めよう。とりあえず、君は私のマスターだ。だが、私にも条件がある。私は今後、君の言い分には従わない。これが最大の譲歩だ。それで構わないな、お嬢さん。
God damn it, house, stop falling apart. Sorry, father. I'm at my limit.
そう。不満だけど認めるくせに私の意見には取り合わないってどういうことかしら？あなたは私のサーバントなんでしょ？
I ask in a trembling voice. After our spat over the command spells, this is my last desperate attempt at dialogue. And yet...
ああ、形の上だけはな。故に、形式上は君に従ってやる。だが、戦うのは私自身だ。君はこの家の地下にでも隠れて、聖杯戦争が終わるまでじっとしていればいい。それなら、未熟な君でも命だけは助かるだろう。
Oh, how thoughtful. He's looking down on me, declaring that he expects nothing from me.
怒ったのか？いや、もちろん君の立場は尊重するよ。私はマスターを勝利させるために呼ばれたものだからな。私の勝利は君のものだし、戦いで得たものは全て君にくれてやる。それなら文句はなかろう。どうせ君に霊樹は使えまい。まあ、後のことは私に任せて。
Nope, she's blowing up here.
あったまきた。いいわ。そんなに言うなら使ってやろうじゃない。アンファン。
Oh, here we go. No more mercy. I've got nothing else left for a jackass like this.
まさか。
そのまさかよ、この礼儀知らず。フィアトラーク、アイノヤナゲル、アイノヤスケナツ、アイノヤスフィアブレヒ。
Thank God we've got the English translation there.
待て、正気かマスター。そんなことで霊樹を使うやつが。
うるさい。いい？あんたは私のサーバントなら私の言い分には絶対服従ってもんでしょ。
The emblem on my right hand aches. 3 command spells. They allow a master to issue 3 unbreakable commands to the servants.
考えなしか君は。こんな大雑把なことに霊樹を使うなど。
It's too late to whine now. I didn't expect this to happen either. I want to die of self-loathing, excuse me. I can't believe I just burned one of my precious command spells on a petty squabble. Well, I mean, at least if everything gets in order, you know? If we get things on track, then oh well, we're down 1. We only have 2 remaining. It is what it is, right? Well, what do I know, right? After that, I retreated from the ruins of the parlor and went to my bedroom. Before me stands the servant who my command spells compelled absolute obedience from. Supposedly, anyway.
なるほど。君の性質は大体理解したぞ、マス。
Who would call this absolute obedience?
念のため尋ねるが、君は霊樹がどれほど重要か理解しているのか。
知ってるわよ。サーバントを律する3回きりの命令権でしょ。それが何よ。
I do feel like there is a little bit more to the idea of it.
いいかね。霊樹はサーバントを強制的に行動させるものだ。それは行動を止めるだけでなく、行動を強化させるという意味でもある。
Okay, yeah, in that case, we definitely wasted one.
例えば、私はここから遠くの場所まで瞬間的には移動できない。だが、霊樹で行けと命じれば、それが私と君の魔力で届くことならば可能となる。強制命令権とはそういうことだ。サーバント自身でも制御できない、肉体の限界さえ突破させる大魔術の結晶が3つの霊樹なのだ。
知ってるわよ、そんなこと。いいじゃない、まだ2つあるんだし。あなたに命じた規則は無駄じゃないんだし。
It kind of sounds like it was, actually. That's what I'm getting off of this,
こ
honestly.
れは私の誤算だった。霊樹というものは曖昧な命令には効きが弱くなる。私を守り通せ、この戦いに勝てなどといった広く長く効果が続くものには霊樹の力が弱くなる。効き目は長く続くが苦痛が小さいため逆らえるサーバントも出てくるだろう。逆に次の一撃を死ぬ気で放て、あのグラスだけは壊すなといった単一の命令は絶対で、よほど強力なサーバントでも逆らうのは難しくなる。さて、ここまでで私が言いたい
Oh,
こと
I'm
が
getting
わ
what
か
he's
る
throwing
な、
down
マスタ
here.
ー。
わかるわよ。要するに広く長い命令は意味がないんでしょ。効果も
Oh,
戒
nope,
め
she's
も
still
薄いな
talking.
ら
God damn it.
サーバントは霊樹
When
に
will I
逆らって
learn?
行動できる。そんな効き目の薄い命令をするなら絶対的な単一の命令をした方がいい。
そうだ。霊樹とはもともと自分たちの能力以上の奇跡を起こすためのもの。それを代用の利く命令などで消費する具は許されない。君の先ほどの霊樹はまさにそれだ。私が君に従うかは話し合いで解決できたことだし、仮に霊樹を使ったところで全ての言動に絶対服従など霊樹が100あっても実現できない。
じゃあ私のさっきの霊樹は無
That's
意
sort of
味
what
っ
I'm
て
getting
こと？
here. That is sort of what I'm getting here.
通常ならそうなのだがな。どうも君の魔術師としての性能は桁が違ったらしい。
So even a regularly like weak command actually was strong from her end? Is he shocked or happy? My servant's lips twitch upward, even as he sighs.
桁が違ったって、もしかして。ちょっとあなた、自分が今どんな状態なのか正直に話してみなさい。
The implication dawns on me and I ask him eagerly.
ああ、誤算というのはそれだ。先ほどの命令では少しはマスターの意見を尊重しようという程度の心変わりにしかならない。だが今の私は君の言葉に強い強制を感じている。君の意見に異を唱えると、そうだな、ランクが一つばかり落ちるようだ。
So he himself has not necessarily changed. It's just that unless he actually, follows along with her, he's actually going to be weakened?
つまりマスターの意向に逆らうと体が重くなって動きづらいというところか。
My servant shrugs in resignation. So he's saying that my command spell wasn't a waste, but an actual benefit? He's still being as sarcastic as ever, so it doesn't seem to have had any effect. Besides, even if he's weakened, I doubt even 10 of me could resist if he decided to rebel against me.
前言を撤回しよう、マスター。年齢は若いが、君は卓越した魔術師だ。子供と侮り、戦いから遠ざけようとしたのは私の過ちだった。無礼ともども謝ろう。
The servant straightens his posture and gives me a formal bow.
やめてよ。確かにいろいろ言い合ったけど、そんなの喧嘩両成敗っていうか。
そうか。いや、話のわかるマスターで助かった。
なんか切り返し早いわね、あんた。
I like this guy's
誤
attitude.
算は誤算だったが、
I don't know
嬉しい誤
why.
算というやつだったからな。これほどの才能があるのなら、君を戦いに巻き込むことに異論はない。
Is this his roundabout way of saying that I'm a strong master?
じゃあ、霊樹抜きで私がマスターだって認めるのね。
無論だ。先ほどは召喚されたばかりで馴染んでいなかったが、今では完全につながった。
契約？
Huh. Now that he mentions it, something does feel weird about my body. It's as if my closed-off nerves are now connected to the outside. Specifically, I can feel a portion of my magical energy flowing to the man before me.
そっか。サーバントは聖杯に呼ばれるけど、呼ばれたサーバントをこの世に留めるのは。
そう。マスターの力だ。サーバントは、マスターからの魔力提供によってこの世に留まる。魔力提供量は十分だ。経験的に問題はありそうだが、君の能力は飛び抜けている。普通の魔術師ならば、サーバントを召喚した瞬間に意識を失っているだろう。だというのに、君は活力に満ちている。先ほどの霊樹といい、この魔力量といい、マスターとして君は間違いなく一流だ。
Well, there you go, Rin. You did it.
今更褒めたって何も出ないけど。
I break eye contact out of embarrassment. Well, I didn't see this coming. I know the command spell is making him obey me, but still, this superhuman servant is sincerely acknowledging me as his master.
で、あなた何のサーバント？
I clear my head and return to business. Yeah, let's get a name out of this guy.
見てわからないか？ああ、それは結構。
I take it all back. He's definitely making fun of me.
わかったわ。これはマスターとしての質問よ。ねえ、あなたセイバーじゃないの？
No, he ain't.
残念ながら剣は持っていない。
I suspected as much. When all's said and done, I got the time wrong. My summoning circle didn't do its job, and my servant was spat out into some random room. It was far too sloppy of a ritual to summon the strongest servant saber.
ドジったわ。あれだけ宝石を使っておいてセイバーじゃないなんて目も当てられない。
This really is gotcha.
セイバーでなくて。
ああ、うん。そりゃ通行のミスだから残念だけど、悪いのは私なんだから。
ああ、どうせアーチャーでは派手さに欠けるだろうよ。いいだろう。後で今の暴言を悔やませてやる。その時になって謝っても聞かないからな。
はい？
What a surprise. The unidentified servant seems to be sulking. Maybe my fixation on Saber offended him.
何？勘に触った？あーちゃん。
触った。見ていろ。必ず自分が幸運だったと思い知らせてやる。
Ooh, I like the confidence. Archer retorts with a sidelong glance. He has a really spiteful air about him, but that reaction felt somehow childish and free of malice. You know, he might be a petty guy? No, a pretty decent guy.
そうね。
Maybe a little
そ
petty
れじゃ
too, you
あ
know?
必ず私を後悔させて、はーちゃん。そうなったら素直に謝らせてもらうから。
ああ、忘れるなよ、マスター。己が召喚したものがどれほどのものか知って感謝するがいい。もっとも、その時になって謝られても、こちらの気は晴れんだろうがな。
Archer huffs even as his lips twist into a grin. Oh yeah, this one's got a rotten personality, alright.
まあいいわ。それであんたどこの英霊なのよ。
Archer doesn't answer. His sardonic expression is replaced by a deepening frown.
あーちゃん、マスターである私がサーバントであるあなたに聞いているんだけど。
それは秘密だ。
Interesting.
は？
私がどのようなものだったかは答えられない。なぜかというと、
あのね、つまんない理由だったら怒るわよ。
Now let's hear him out here.
それは
There's that face again. Archer opens and closes his mouth as if he's having trouble voicing an uncomfortable truth.
なぜかというと、自分でもわからない。
Wait, what?
はあ？何よそ
Did
れ。
he lose his
あんた
memory?
私のことバカにしてるわけ？
マスターを侮辱するつもりはない。ただ、これは君の不完全な召喚のツケだぞ。どうも、記憶に混乱が見られる。自分が何者であるかはわかるのだが、名前や素性がどうも曖昧だ。まあ、さして重要な欠落ではないから、気にすることはないのだが。
気にすることはない。気にするわよそんなの。
Yeah, this can actually be a little impactful on his performance.
あんたがどんな英霊か知らなきゃどのくらい強いのかわからないじゃない。
なんだ、そんなことは問題ではなかろう。
さまつってあんたね、相棒の強さがわからないんじゃ作戦の立てようがないでしょ。そんなんで戦っていけるわけないじゃない。
I mean, if we wing it, you never know.
何を言う。私は君が呼び出したサーバントだ。それが最強でないはずがない。
Okay, he may have forgotten where he's from and all that, but goddamn, is his confidence just there? It's like truly a part of his personality is just having so much optimism and confidence. He's so straightforward. The Crimson Knight fixes me with a gaze full of confidence and trust. My brain grinds to a halt. There's no deception in Archer's words. He's sincerely giving me more credit than I deserve, even though we've just met. My cheeks are burning. I'm sure I'm blushing bright red right now. Surprise attacks like this tend to be my weakness.
まあいいか。誰にも正体がわからないってことには変わりはないんだし、敵を騙すにはまず味方からって言うし。
I turn away from Archer to hide my embarrassment. I'm sure I'll figure out in due time what sort of servant he is anyway. For now, we have other priorities.
わかった。しばらくあなたの正体に関しては不問にしましょう。それじゃあじゃあ最初の仕事だけど。
早速か。好戦的だな、君は。それで敵は？
Before he can say enemy, I toss a broom and dustpan at him. Time to fix up that parlor.
下の掃除お願い。あんたが散らかしたんだから責任持ってきれいにしといてね。
What the fuck just happened? A few seconds pass in stunned silence. When Archer finally regains his senses, he grips the broom indignantly.
待て。君はサーバントを何だと思っている？
使い魔でしょ？ちょっと生意気で扱いに困るけど。
Archer cuts himself off. I have no intention of letting him off, and if he tries to weasel out of it, I still have a card to play.
意義あり。そのような命令は
いいの？これマスターとしての命令よ。マスターの方針に逆らったら体が重くなるんだっけ？
Unless he was just lying and he's trying to, you know,
あなたはその程度
get
じゃ
by
どうっ
with
てこ
that
とな
lie
いだ
for
ろうけ
some
ど、
reason.
そのペナルティは今を掃除するまで続くのよ。そんな状態で明日から戦っていくのは危ないんじゃない？
He stands there for several more seconds with broom in hand, grumbling under his breath. And so the archer in the red mantle closes his eyes.
了解した。地獄に落ちろ、
Oh
マスター。
my goodness gracious. And gracefully accepts my order. Now then, it's getting late, so I should rest. I can decide how to deal with him once I wake up. That's an issue for tomorrow's, I guess, us. A fateful day draws to a close. No, rather my fate was shaped by this night. That makes 6, including me. Once the 7th and final master summons their servant, the Holy Grail War of this generation will begin. In the not-so-distant future, the battle I've been waiting 10 long years for is about to commence. I guess I'm getting a little bit of an idea as to what's to come, but it also draws my attention back to what's-his-face that we saw in the very, very beginning, with none other than Saber. That was Saber. That was, I guess, summoned by somebody else who is also into the magecraft, maybe? The Holy Grail War. It's a grand ritual that's been repeated for hundreds of years. A fight to the death between 7 participants, of which only one can survive. It's said that a Holy Grail exists in the land of Fuyuki, and that a number of mages fought over it in the past. Their one and only objective was to obtain the relic called the Holy Grail. However, the Grail's origins are unclear. We're sure it isn't the chalice that held the blood of God, but its power is fearsome enough to be compared to the genuine article. That's right. They say the Holy Grail can grant any wish. Only one person can possess it. The Holy Grail can only grant one wish for one person. Despite that, 7 mages are needed to summon the Grail to this land. 7 collaborators to create one miracle. So, as you might imagine, it was only a matter of time before they started fighting over the Grail. Like so many conflicts, it started as a competition over property rights. The 7 mages equally used the power of the Holy Grail to summon their respective familiars and then do battle over the Grail itself. Only one mage can obtain the Grail. As a result, 7 people who started as colleagues ended up in a ferocious battle to the death. That's the gist of the ritual known as the Holy Grail War, a struggle for ownership between mages. The mages chosen by the Holy Grail are called masters, who use the blessing of the Grail to acquire powerful familiars known as servants. Now, I get you. 2 things serve as proof that one has become a master: the summoning and command of a servant, and the mark of command spells to compel the servant's servitude. The first goes without saying. The archer I summoned yesterday, no, a few hours ago to be exact, is Rin Tosaka's servant. As for the second, a master must closely guard the command spells that control one's servant. This is probably the most critical aspect of being a master. So what you're telling me that she has basically 3 trump cards, if you want to call them trump cards, to use in this big-ass fight that's about to go down. And she just blew one before the fight even started to, try to get things under control. I don't know how I feel about that. When I summoned archers, symbols appeared on my right hand, namely command spells. Stigmata bestowed by the Holy Grail upon the summoning of a servant that mark one's new status as a master. A massive amount of magical energy is compressed into these seals, whose power is fleeting rather than long-lasting. There's another plane flying over by, what the hell? They disappear once they're used, and as their shape suggests, each mark represents a single use. In other words, one only gets 3 shots. A master who has used up all 3 command spells can no longer control a servant, and is as good as dead. Okay, so we basically have one more trump card, or Rin has one more trump card that she can actually use safely, and if it's like between life and death, survival or, no survival, she has to use the last one. Therefore, command spells must be handled with care until the very end, since they're as valuable as one's own life. It pains me to no end that I burned one right off the bat, but it wasn't a total waste, so I'll chalk it up as a win. I'm not chalking it up as a win. I think it was actually kind of silly now that we're getting a little bit more information on the topic. After all, a servant could turn on its master at any time. If one command spell is what it takes to put a collar on him, then I consider it a fair trade. Hey, you can consider that all you want, but I'm not. That's about it for the broader strokes of this business. Once 7 servants have been summoned, the Holy Grail War will begin. Tonight's sleep will be a fitful one. I don't know when the final master will appear, but they could be right around the corner. Yeah, they really could be. Whoever they are. I feel sluggish. My bleary gaze goes up to the window, only to see that it's already bright outside. Now you're just straight up fucking late. After a drowsy check of the clock, I make up my mind to skip school today. Sitting up in bed, I heave a long sigh. Not being a morning person isn't enough to explain why I feel so dull. I think Archer mentioned something about it. A master would be out of commission after summoning a servant. I remember it all clearly now. I'd rather not, to be honest, but it's not as if denying the facts will let me do it over. I drag myself out of bed. A mental boxing match rages between the outside air, which is quite warm for winter, and the comfort of my bed sheets. It concludes in a 3-second knockout against the temptation of going back to sleep. I check my body in the mirror. Nothing out of place aside from the loss of half of my usual magical energy. I review the situation. I summon the servant Archer, who doesn't have an ounce of respect for his master. To make matters worse, he doesn't even know who he is. Wow, talk about a headache. Servants are strong familiars all on their own, but what makes them truly formidable is the secret weapon they each possess. Frustratingly, Archer claims to have forgotten what his is. Unless he's lying. I can't put that past him. We're both in the same boat then. I can only pray that he'll sort his memories out, but who knows how long that might take. Good grief. I've really got my work cut out for... What's going on here? What's happening? Hey, look, the parlor, it's all good. The parlor is completely back to normal. I thought he'd maybe just clear away the debris. Or however you want, I'm calling it debris, but the room is so spotless I can't help but be impressed. He must have felt bad for wrecking the place. I doubt he would have gone to the trouble otherwise. I guess I ought to commend him for being a more decent guy than I...
日はとっくに昇っているぞ。また、随分とだらしがないんだな、君は。
I retract my statement. Oh, come on. There isn't a remorseful bone in his body.
おはよう。そういうあんたは随分とリラックスしてるよね。今を好き勝手使ってくれちゃってさ。
何？一晩過ごした部屋だからな。どこに何があるか把握したよ。おう。ついでだから厨房も片付けておいた。もう
I have a headache. Why do I have to put up with a servant judging my interior decoration? I thought servants all cared only about fighting. Are we sure this guy isn't defective? No, there's something wrong for sure.
本調子ではなさそうだな。昨夜は元気だったが、睡眠をとって疲れが出たのだろう。
It was that adrenaline.
紅茶でよければごちそうしよう。
Acting like he owns the place. Without missing a beat, Archer produces a teacup and fills it with the expensive reddish tea that he's been brewing. There's a lot I want to say right now, but oddly enough, I can't work up the indignation too. The way he does it all is so refined. I've got to admit, he might be rather cultured.
まあいいけど、疲れてるのは事実だし、飲む。
I sit down on the chair. The teacup is placed soundlessly in front of me, and I take a sip. Oh, it's delicious. I expected as much since my favorite Chinese tea, a spring harvest Hongsha. I'd be upset if it didn't taste good. On that note, I'd normally be upset if someone used my favorite tea leaves without asking. It makes me mad, but the tea was brewed so inquisitively that the pleasure it brings overcomes my anger. You gotta work on the anger stuff.
ちょっと何笑ってるのよあんた。
何、感想が聞きたかったが、その顔では聞くまでもないと思っただけだ。
Oh, these two will get along just fine. That's how I feel, at least. I set the teacup down with a forceful thud.
もったいない。熱いうちに味わった方がいいぞ。私が気に障るなら消えているが。
ごちそうさま。結構よ。私は茶坊主が欲しくてマスターになったわけじゃないわ。あなたもね、頼みもしないことをする必要はないわよ。
そうか。確かに私も茶坊主になったり後片付けをするために契約したわけではない。
I
君
think,
が
that,
そう
I
いう
think
の
he
な
was
ら
just being
ば
nice,
これ
honestly.
から
Like,
気をつけよ
he was just trying to be thoughtful.
ええ、私が求めているのは戦力としての使い魔よ。家事をこなすサーバントなんて聞いたことがないし、する必要も特にないわ。
Yet you gave him a chore to do.
う。特にはないとはどういう意味かな。
別に好きなようにとって結構よ。それよりあなた自分の正体を思い出せた？
Archer shakes his head in the negative. That doesn't bode well. If he can't remember after a single night, then his memories probably won't return easily. There are some measures I can try today, but...
わかった。あなたの記憶に関してはおいおい対策を考えとく。じゃあ出かける支度をしてあっちゃん。召喚されたばかりで勝手もわからないでしょ。街を案内してあげるから。
That'll work as a tour for us too.
出かける支度？いや、そんな必要はないだろう。出るのならばすぐに出られるが。
Well, she has to go get ready.
あのね、そんな格好で出歩くつもり？どう見ても普通じゃないし、他のマスターが見たら一発でサーバントってわかるじゃない。私、自分から私はマスターですなんて言いふらす気はないんだけど。
ああ、そういうことか。それも問題はない。確かに着替える必要はあるが、それは実体化している時だけでね。サーバントはもともと霊体だ。非戦闘時には霊体になってマスターにかける負担を減らす。
ああ、そっか。召喚されたって英霊は英霊だものね。霊体に肉体を与えるのはマスターの魔力なんだから、私が魔力提供をカットすれば。
自然。我々も霊体に戻る。そうなったサーバントは守護霊のようなものだ。レイラインでつながっているマスター以外には観測されない。もっとも会話程度はできるから偵察ならば支障はないが。
わ、便利。それじゃあ本当に他のマスターを探し出すなんて難しいんだ。
ああ。だが魔術師は魔術師を知覚できるだろう。
Yeah, there's no
それ
perfect
と同じ
hiding
で
spot, it
サーバ
seems.
ントもサーバントを感知できる。優れた魔術を知るサーバントならば遠く離れたサーバントの位置さえ把握するだろう。
And are you a servant who is skilled in magecraft? Archer has it in one. Masters are supposed to be capable mages, and the more magical energy the mage has, the better they are at detecting traces of magical energy. As far as I know, however, there isn't anyone else around with that degree of power.
で、あんたはどうなの？
I'm
他の
assuming
サーバントの位
no.
置、わかる？
マスター、私のクラスは何か忘れたのか？遠く離れた敵の位置を探るなど騎士上がりにできるものか？
Yeah, we're a little off there on the class. He has a point. Archer's magical energy isn't on that level. It's likely that only the magically powerful caster is capable of easily locating distant foes.
わかったわ。じゃあ、とりあえず後についてきて、あーちゃん。あなたの呼び出された世界を見せてあげるから。
そう目新しいものではなさそうだがね。
Yeah,
そ
you
れより
never
マス
know.
ター、君、大切なことを忘れていないか？
大切なことって何？
まったく。君、まだ本調子ではないぞ。契約において最も重要な交換を私たちは未だしていない。
契約において最も重要な交換。
Is he demanding equivalent exchange? No, that can't be it. The chance to take part in the Holy Grail War is already reward enough for a servant. There shouldn't be anything else left to trade.
君な。朝は弱いんだな、本当に。
No, she is not. Archer sounds exasperated. His oh-so-sardonic manner of speech finally gives me an idea. Come to think of it, he's never once called me by my name.
ああ、しまった。名前。
Damn, ouch.
思い当たったか。まあ、今からでも遅くはないさ。それでマスター、君の名前は？
Archer sounds sulky. Oh man, he really is a decent person. That's what I'm thinking, honestly. I'm sure of it now. After all, there's no tangible benefit of exchanging names. Servants are forcefully bound to their masters by the command spells. While names are key to contracting with a regular familiar, there's no need for a master and a servant to be so intimate. But it's important to Archer. He's clearly trying to establish trust between comrades in arms, regardless of the command spells.
私、遠坂凛よ。あなたの好きなように呼んでいいわ。
I answer in a clipped tone, unwilling to let slip any admiration. He'll probably just call me something impersonal like master or hey you, which works out just fine for me. I don't think he will. Except... Archer chews on Rin Tosaka for a moment.
それでは、リンと。ああ。この響きは、実に君に似合っている。
Again, I think this guy is good. Unless he's doing some elaborate ruse of some sort, while also, you know, filling in the role of servant. Again, I'd be very confused by that, but whatever. He says something really forward.
リン、どうした？何やら顔色がおかしいが。
うるさい。いいからさっさと行くわよ、あーちゃん。とにかくのんびりしてる暇なんてないんだから。
I turn on my heel and storm away, huffing. This is so infuriating. I'm not even sure why. Damn that Archer. Did he say that just to mess with me?
ありえる。こいつなら絶対そうだ。
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. Must be all part of his plan to get me all flustered. I'd better be careful. Gotta work with this wise guy from here on out. Yes, you do. Oh, this is fun. This is all very interesting. I guess I should also add on that while Fate and all of this is very new to me, I also don't think I've ever jumped into a visual novel like this. Like, one that is on the science fiction... Well, science fiction I've messed with, sure. But like, you know, magic and all that. That is completely new to me, I would argue. So, I don't know. Have I done anything with like magic or anything similar? Even on my own time, I don't think so. I think sci-fi is probably the furthest. But something like fantasy and all that, which I don't know if this constitutes as fantasy, but yeah, either way, this is definitely different. But I'm intrigued. I can't lie, I am intrigued. So, for the moment, because I'm still in one-off status, I would like to record through the prologue, however long it is. It seems to have some length to it, so I will definitely record the prologue. Beyond that, I'm not so sure yet. This is definitely one of those ones where it's like, I'm going to have to commit a lot of time to. But I am pretty curious about where this is all going to go. There's some pretty good quality to all this. But anyways, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz. And yeah, be sure to tune in to another episode or two because I'll keep on recording for the time being and, you know, we'll see how all that goes. So thanks again for tuning in and I will see you guys in another one. Take it easy.